But I hadn't yet figured the way out. And why not? Because I hadn't been introduced to real estate wholesaling yet. Once that happened, everything changed.
Welcome to the Get Traction podcast. If you are ready to learn exactly what it takes to become a real estate entrepreneur, this is the show for you. With your host, founder of Traction Real Estate Mentors and president of the Traction Real Estate Investors Association, Tom Zeeb.
Let me tell you a story. Nearly 20 years ago, I had a difficult phone call from a client. It was before I broke free from the rat race, so I still had a 9-to-5 job. This client was a steel factory, and my contact there was a distinguished gentleman in his mid-50s. The factory wasn't doing well. American steel had been on the decline for many years. The equipment was out of date and expensive to run. The unions had absurd amounts of overlap, were anti-modernization, and maintained ridiculous demands for staffing levels and compensation. Other countries taxed our steel highly while they dumped theirs in the USA without any reciprocal tariffs. Massive amounts of regulations made it very difficult and way too expensive to run the business right, so they couldn't be competitive. And, therefore, the company went into bankruptcy, destroying thousands of jobs. At which point, I had a difficult conversation with my contact there. He told me how the demise of the company was going to hit him personally. His pension wouldn't be funded. He wasn't sure how he would pay for his kids' college degrees, or the mortgage, or all his other expenses. The future quote-unquote security he always thought he'd have was no longer a reality. He simply wasn't sure what to do. He had spent his entire working adult life at the steel factory. Tom, I don't even have a resume, as I've never had to write one. May I ask your help putting one together and reviewing it? I did, but there were enough thoughts going through my own head as well. I didn't particularly like working a job. Even when I got a raise, it didn't really put any more money into my pocket. And I was drowning in $113,000 of debt from college, credit cards, living expenses, absurdly gross mismanagement of my finances. It was all my fault. But how was I going to pay all of that off? How do you pay off $113,000 in debt without a gun or white powder? So seeing a glimpse of my potential future if I stayed on a career track through a job or a company just wasn't looking very appealing to me either. But I hadn't yet figured the way out. And why not? Because I hadn't been introduced to real estate wholesaling yet. Once that happened, everything changed. See, with wholesaling, it was possible to bring in large amounts of money very quickly. That's once I stumbled through and figured out how to do it right. But then I was able to break out of the rat race and avoid the same fate as my steel company client. It wasn't just the moolah from my own business that was nice. It was the control and the total freedom. Will you have to stumble through it all as well if you want to break free finally? No, not as much as I did, because part of my mission now is to help others do the same as I did. But this time, I want them to do it with a proper system that has everything I wish I had had when I got started. I'm talking the methods, the frameworks, the targets, and the techniques to actually make it work for you. It'll make your journey so much smoother. So if you're ready to break free and prosper, it can work for you. Start with my one-day Rapid Cash Generator Masterclass. We'll dig deep into how to find the deals, make the deals, and get paid. You'll understand the process, you'll know what it takes, and you'll have the roadmap to go forward. So fire up your blast furnace, avoid shutdown, and become strong as steel by going to gettractionpodcast.com and clicking on events.
Thanks for listening. Your next step is to visit gettractionpodcast.com. Happy wholesaling.